Alright, since the first Descendant beta has just finished, should you buy and play the game when it does release? So I've played basically every beta that has been released for this game, and the latest playtest that lasted 2 days just before the release date has just ended, and I did play a fair bit. And let's talk about exactly what I've noticed about the game, should you play it, and my overall impressions of it. So in this beta, there was actually a fair amount to do, considering that the last beta didn't have as much as it did. So let's just get the basic stuff out first. The game will be released this year in the summertime. They will be releasing the dates very soon, and I'll let you know when that does release. I should also add that the game is free to play, so you don't have to buy the game anyway. Just download it and try it if you wish. It is going to be a cross-save and a cross-platform game, so that's going to be great. And it's basically a cross game between Warframe and Destiny. It has a lot of similarities to both games. It is an open world looter shooter after all. So when I say it's like Warframe, you basically, and like Destiny, you do have character levels, you do have character modding, you do have weapon levels and weapon modding. There is a lot to do and a lot of different builds that you can go ahead and create for all of the Descendants that we get to try out. Now in the beta, we did get to try out about 11 Descendants. Will there be more? Most likely. I know Warframe has a bunch of them, and we're basically gonna see, I would say, over 50 characters in this game by the time that does release. Now, it's not as complicated and speedy as Warframe does. I know Warframe can get a little bit complicated for some new players. I did try it out. It wasn't really something that I could just jump straight into because the game has been out for a while and it's a bit complicated to kind of understand. Now, the first Descendants isn't like that. It's not as fast-paced and as complicated as it may seem. It is a lot simpler and it just does feel a lot better to me. It's something you can go ahead and jump straight into and understand, especially with the help that you do get. Now, there are many different maps and worlds in this game, and each area has its own enemy type. Now, in the beta, we did try out and we did fight a couple of different enemies, which was quite interesting actually. Now, the story for the first Descendants isn't anything, you know, groundbreaking. It's basically your average hero story. The world is ending, we have to save the world, and we're the only ones that can do it. It's Warframe, it's Destiny, it's, you know, every other looter shooter video game story that you've been told. Now, in the game, there is also a mastery level, which is more or less like Warframe. It's basically going to be your character or your account level. That serves a different purpose. So each mastery level, you unlock more and different statistics about your characters and your account. Now, also there is a lot of skins that you can go ahead and buy in the game. You don't have to buy them, you don't have to use the skins, but they're there if you want, just like pretty much every game that does get released today. Destiny, Call of Duty, the first Descendants, Warframe, you have Helldivers, Fortnite, whatever character, whatever game that you want to play in nowadays, you have to buy skins. Now, the only gacha mechanic that I've seen a lot of people kind of misinterpret recently, they think the game is like a gacha game and it has gacha mechanics. It really doesn't. The only thing that is the colors that you can change your weapons and characters with. Now, you don't have to buy it, but the way that it works is if you get the materials, it's basically like a roulette wheel. You spin the wheel and it gives you a color to use. That's it. You can't specifically buy a pack, or like let's say that you wanted black. You kind of have to RNG it until you get the color black. That's more or less how it works. Let's talk about mods. Now, leveling up mods does take some time, which is good or bad depending on how you see it. Now, the first few levels of each level for the mod, you're not going to see a huge difference, but once you get past like level 5, level 6 of the mods, that is when you're going to see your stats for the mods increase. It could even double or triple the perk stats that you're trying to increase in that mod. So yeah, you do have an incentive to actually level up a certain mod that you want to use. You're going to have to play with it for a while. Obviously, there is going to be a main hub where you do everything. You're going to collect quests, you're going to check out your mail, your postmaster's going to be there. I say postmaster from Destiny. That's where you're going to collect quests, talk to different vendors and characters, and just basically sort out everything. The beta was actually great this weekend that just went by. There was definitely a lot more to do than the previous beta, considering they did add some new activities that you can do, like the void fragments and the void fractures and stuff like that. It's basically like a timed activity that you can do one of to unlock the other, which is pretty cool. I mean, obviously it's a beta, so we're not going to get too much of the actual game embedded into the beta, but it was definitely something to try out that we haven't done before. It's quite fun. It lasts about 5 to 10 minutes each activity, depending on how fast you do it, but more or less 5 minutes. Now, there are other activities that could last up to 30 to 45 minutes, depending on your character, but that's normally how much it lasts in the beta. Now, there was a lot of things that has been fixed in the game since the last update. We've got a lot of fixes and quality improvements and performance improvements and just overall mechanics as well on how you play the game, which is great to see them actually making a difference in the game. There are more menus that you can go ahead and look into, especially with the past update that they've recently done. I've made a whole video about that showing you exactly what they've done since the last beta and the new menus they've added. It's pretty good, especially with the ones where basically it tells you where to collect certain items. So for example, if you wanted to go ahead and collect a certain material to upgrade, activities will actually tell you what you're going to unlock upon completing them before you even go into it. So that is pretty good. Now, will this game actually last the test of time? Now, that really just depends on you and what you like to play. Now, I'm going to talk about a video game that's kind of controversial to talk about considering how popular it is. Now, Helldivers. Helldivers lasted way longer than I think it should have. The game was fun for about a week, then it just got very, very boring, but it's still testing, time, especially with how many people still play it. That depends on the player base, if they enjoy it enough to actually want to keep playing it. Helldivers, a lot of people agree with me that it's boring, but a lot of people love it. Now, are you the person that's gonna love the first Descendants, or are you gonna find it boring? It really just depends on you and the type of game that you like to play. Do you want to collect different armor sets and different characters and different loot and make your characters better than ever? Do you want to grind? Do you want to basically play a looter shooter? Yes. If you want to go red and just play something else, you can do that. Now, inventory slots is definitely something, a priority that you want to go ahead and focus on in the game. Now, there is so much loot in this game. When you're killing enemies, when you're completing activities, when you're killing bosses, you're going to get a bunch of loot, okay? Mods, weapons, materials. You don't have a lot of slots, so make sure you go ahead and get some inventory slots when you do play the game. And yes, there is a battle pass in the game as well. I think there's going to be a free one and a paid one, so you can go ahead and do what you want. Pretty much every game has a battle pass now. You're going to get one in this game too. And that is pretty much it. So overall, the game is an open world looter shooter with a lot of different characters you go ahead and play. In the beta we had 11. In the full game there's going to be a lot more. Different worlds, different characters, character modding, character levels, a lot of different weapons and play styles. Each character had its own playstyle and super and abilities. Yeah, there was a lot to do in this game. It's gonna definitely force you to put in a lot of time, especially with the type of game that it is. And I'm actually really excited to play it. I'll definitely be playing it. I'll definitely be buying it as soon as I can. And I'm really excited. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and I'll see you all very soon.